Hello, Harb. Really lovely to be able to meet you and have this conversation with you.
Yes, and you too, Pradip.
So, Harb, you are a harmonium player. You've been involved with kittens. You've been a musician for a long, long time. Tell us a bit about your musical background.
Okay. I grew up in a Sikh family. So even before I was born, I was going to the Gurdwara every Sunday with my family. So the kirtan, the harmonium, the chanting were a big part of my life. And of course, at home, we did the Japji Sahib and the Reras every day. So I heard my parents singing, and we used to sing together as a family. So it was very much a part of my life. But I started playing the harmonium only about 25, 30 years ago.
I see.
Yeah. And how that happened was that I went to India about 30 years ago, and I found myself inexplicably buying a harmonium and a mridang, carrying it home. It was pretty heavy. And in those days, you could actually ask other people if they don't have much luggage to take some of yours as part of their weight. And that's what happened. I approached a guy in business class and he said, sure, I'll put that in for you. Wouldn't happen now. And then I found out that my mother used to play harmonium when she was younger. But after she got married, my father didn't like her playing in public. And it was almost as if I was carrying on that tradition for her.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was quite an emotional time for me because I didn't understand why I was drawn to this instrument and why I was bringing it home. Yeah. And that's how I began. I'm self-taught, so I haven't, like my husband's been through classical music training right up to, beyond his master's, but mine is more a felt experience and an intuitive experience. So it's by ear. And I started to read music, but I actually prefer the Indian way where someone plays and then you just play back. That's how I started playing. And it's been a long, long love affair since then.
Amazing. So, and you continued. So would you say the harmonium is your primary instrument?
Yes, I do play percussion as well.
Tabla and all that?
Mridang and, of course, the tambourine and the bells, all of which are part of chanting. But the harmonium is my main instrument. And I was thinking about it, during this time, that the harmonium for me is a very grounding instrument. Firstly, you sit on the ground and you kind of embrace it to play it. So it's really almost like an extension of your body. And for me, it's, if you could describe it as the voice of my soul, the tone that it produces. And as well as being grounding, it's also very transcendental because the music that I play is devotional music. And it takes me to another space, which you could probably, at some point, is like this space of oneness. And yet it's very grounded because when you lead kirtan, you have to be totally present to be able to lead others. So it's a transcendence and the grounding at the same time, which, in fact, is quite a good metaphor for how to live life at this moment.
Certainly. Yeah. And when you sing the kirtans, are you mostly carrying on the heritage of the more Sikh traditions of kirtans, or have you come up with your own kind of, shall we say, modern take on it?
Well, it's interesting because I don't see myself as defined by one religion, or I think I've, at some point I've gone beyond religions and then really value what I was brought up with and all the different aspects of Sikhism, like seva. And for me, the harmonium is seva. So the seva is to support others in the chant, to, play collaboratively in order to raise the vibrations for everyone. And through that, I have played at, ashrams where it's mainly Sanskrit and more Hindu style music, and Sikh music, of course, and, Christian chants. We played at a Buddhist festival at the big stupa outside Melbourne, and they were all Buddhist chants. And for me, and we also do, some Muslim chants. So for me, it transcends divisions. For me, it's a great unifier.
Interesting. And you also mentioned we. So I imagine you've got a little ensemble with you.
Yes, it's not played in isolation. It's very much about we. And I'm lucky enough that my husband, who's a guitarist and oud player, also plays the mridang. And so he provides the rhythm. That's actually how we met.
Oh, I see.
I had the melody, but I needed someone to keep the rhythm and the beat. And someone gave me a list of like 9 drummers, and he was at the top. And I rang him and I said, I'd like to practice with you to help me keep the rhythm. And he said, yes. And that enthusiasm was so beautiful. And that's how we met, and we're still playing every day.
Amazing.
So there's the two of us, which is kind of like the core. And then we have friends who play the bells. And when we play every Thursday night at a satsang, there are other harmonium players, there are other bell players. So those 3 instruments are the main ones. Then there's the tambura to provide that, beautiful ground on which everything sits.
Yes, a kind of drone-like sound, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the drum that provides the rhythm, the harmonium, the melody, and then the cymbals are like the little brother to the drum. It keeps it beats and sort of they play beautifully together. And then when we have a bigger concert or a bigger program, then we can have a bass guitarist, the sitar with Sarita. And when we put on this show it's not a show, it was a kirtan and kirtan's not a performance. At the Fringe Festival a couple of years ago, we had 15 musicians. We also had the darabuka, the djembe, the tablas, the bass. We had the tambura. We had the cello. So it was a beautifully big sound. But then there were 450 people. So it needed that to, kind of embrace everyone.
Indeed.
But generally, 3 people, even 2 is, but it's always a we. You are correct in picking that up. That it's never an I. There's no I in this.
So like you were mentioning about the kirtan, like you don't consider a kirtan to be a performance. Is it because a kirtan, there is no line between performer and audience? The audience is also part of it. Is that why you say that? Yeah.
Yes, for a few reasons. One is that there's no delineation between the audience and the musicians. It's like the waves, you call and respond and call and respond. So together you create this infinity symbol flow that happens. And it does take you, to a state that's beyond separateness, into oneness. The music does that. If you participate in it and give yourself to it, it automatically does that. And another thing is that it's not about me, the performer. It's about how can I support the chant? How can I be of service? So it comes back to that Sikh kind of building block of seva. And seva is about selfless service. And it's, Pradip, it sounds the most beautiful, the sweetest, the most profound when it's not an us and them.
Absolutely.
A continuum, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a singer, did you, is this something you also inherited from your family, or did you decide at some point to also sing? And did you sort of take up some kind of training for that?
Well, as I said, we chanted twice a day at home, the Japji Sahib and the Reras, and I would sing. We went to a Methodist school, the sisters, and the boys went to a Methodist school too. And we would sing hymns. And at home, my two sisters and I would be singing hymns, and, neighbors thought we were Christian, and we would just keep singing. And then I joined the choir. We went to competitions with the school choir. So there was never a time that I wasn't singing. And and then it's just continued. So I don't consider myself a singer, but people tell me that when I do sing, it is a different quality that comes through. It's almost like a reverential offering that comes through.
Amazing. And so you are from a Indian Sikh family, but you were born in Australia?
No, I was born in Malaysia. So
in Malaysia.
There's another element there.
Yeah, we share that aspect. I was brought up in Malaysia.
Where?
In Kuala Lumpur and Perlis. So when I was 6 months old, my parents moved to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. So we lived in Kuala Lumpur for the first 7-8 years. Then my family moved to Perlis, which is near the border with Thailand.
The Malaysian.
Another Malaysian, cakap Melayu, siki-siki,
Cakap Melayu, boleh lah.
So your parents were originally migrated to Malaysia from India, or back then would have been Pakistan or India. Yeah.
Well, my father was in the British police, and he was in Singapore.
I see.
And so my mother went with him.
I see. Yeah. And then they migrated to Australia.
Well, no, my brother migrated to Australia, and he said, I was a journalist at the New Straits Times in KL.
I see.
And my brother said, "Oh, why don't you come and give it a go for a year or so?" And I thought, "Oh yeah, why not?" I went to the embassy, and I, single. I had a university degree. I had a job that was desired at the time, and and they said, "Oh, what would happen if you go there and you can't get a job?" And I said, "Oh, I'll get a job." And within a week, I had a job, which that's how you think when you're 20.
Oh,
and,
yes. The possibilities.
The possibilities are endless and open.
Yes.
And I came here, and then it became another year and another year and another year, and now I'm Albanian.
Yes. So did you migrate straight to Melbourne?
Oh, yes.
I see. And you've been a Melbourneian since, basically.
Yes.
Amazing.
I got a job at the Herald when it was a broadsheet, and then I've moved to the Age.
Right. So is that your main job? You're a journalist?
Yes, I do it only 2 days now because I want a more broad life. I mean, I love the news. I love that, being on the front line of information and what's happening where. But I also love that, spending time in a different way. And just before this latest lockdown, I had, invited a few people to create a new group.
I see, like musical group.
Musical group which is more, out of Kirtan, because some of the concerts I've done, they are not Kirtan. They're different, like the one I did with Sarita.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is with Sarita on sitar, Phil on, my husband on oud and mridang.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a violin player called Amla and a koto player called Brandon. And Brandon's from Malaysia and Amla is half Malaysian.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we have nasi lemak first, or, curry laksa or something, and then we get into playing music, and we create compositions and we do arrangements. But that's been interrupted.
Yes. You mentioned nasi lemak. I suddenly felt a little pang of hunger.
I make a good nasi lemak.
Oh, right. Okay, I'll hold you to that.
I make a good masala thosai as well.
Oh, many talents. Person of many talents.
I love eating. So.
Yes, we gotta love food. And so you've worked as a journalist, and you've also been involved with academia.
Yes, I taught first, second, third year students at Monash Uni for 14 years.
What did you teach?
I taught, newsroom theory and practice, basically, how to write a news story. I also taught feature writing. I also taught newspaper design. And I loved it. I love the students. Yeah, but that's I've let that go now.
So you're not doing it at the moment?
I'm not doing it at the moment. Yeah.
So you are a very versatile person, musician, journalist, teacher, and also a good cook by the sound of it.
You've got to have the good food.
Yes.
It's all part of it, isn't it? It's a part of the savoring, the senses, the hearing, the singing. It's all about the senses. Absolutely.
Yeah. And given that we've had this, especially in Melbourne, we have had these long, grueling lockdowns, which have really put a lot of, people out of work. And a lot of musicians haven't been able to perform. A lot of businesses in the entertainment industries, of which the music industry is a part of, have not been able to function. So how have you, as a musician, kept yourself going during this period?
Oh, wow. I'm lucky to be living with someone I can play with. But we had just started this new match. When you play live and when you play with the live, with other people there, it's a different experience. And then magic happens, like how we met these Malaysians, half Malaysians, and and we came together to create something new that is surprising to the senses. And that spark was really happening. And then we've had to postpone rehearsals about 4 times. And initially it was really hard to go, okay, but I think I have slid into this like I did last year in terms of, okay, this is a time now to stay grounded and transcendent, which is helped with the harmonium. But I feel very fortunate that I actually work 2 days a week as a desk editor, because there are so many people who are doing it really tough.
Yes.
And when I I really support the local businesses, to get takeaway or whatever. But I do tell them, play local music, because, let's support each other. The arts industry has been decimated, performance, orchestras. It's been really really hit so hard. And maybe it's time for that awareness too, that let's play local music. Let's support local musicians.
Absolutely.
Like we can support each other.
Absolutely. And have you tried, doing performances online, like live streaming?
Yeah, last year, in order to keep the weekly Kirtan going, we, bought all this equipment and got onto online Kirtan with other people, which is, not the same. But we did it, and it was really helpful for a lot of people to be connected in that way. Because we could see each other even though we couldn't sing together, because you can't sing together on these portals because you're not singing at the same time.
Latency.
The latency issue, which we tried to fix, but it's a hard one. And we did it all of last year. And this time I'm hoping that we're not, lockdown is long. Let's hope everyone does the right thing.
Yes.
Let's hope that we can all be responsible and get out of this quickly.
Indeed. And we hope that, gradually this will pass, kind of saying.
Yes. And that we can, create this music of the soul. Indeed. And how it feeds us actually playing and being with other people.
What are your plans for the future? I mean, obviously, we are all somewhere anticipating and hoping that these lockdowns will be one day a thing of the past. And so what are your long-term plans as a musician, as an artist, as a journalist?
I think what this time has done for us is told us to relinquish our long-term plans. It's actually asked us to surrender, let go. The message has been surrender, let go, and to trust on some level.
Absolutely.
And it has been a challenge to do that, because we have the dire climate report. We have the Taliban in Afghanistan again after 20 years.
Yes.
We have the COVID numbers here that are quite, they're
alarming.
But it's almost like surrendering to what is to be and letting it flow organically. When we started playing together with this group, I had these ideas of, okay, we'll rehearse, and then we'll, do a recording. We'll get, a regular gig somewhere to share this music, because the sounds are so different and so new. But now it's like, well, what is meant to be will flow. And you can have the intention and then surrender it to the grace.
It's a wise take on the whole situation. So that's I guess it has been a time of introspection and learning, I think, for us all. And so the way you are looking at it seems like that's the way to be able to deal with the situation. Without burning ourselves out, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that was great talking to you, Harb. Thank you so much.
Lovely talking with you, fellow Malaysian.